Now, another important issue that doesn't maybe get the attention that mental health and mental awareness did last week from the Bell Let's Talk Day, but an equally important one, and it's connected to mental health and well-being, is the whole issue of eating disorders. This is Eating Disorder Week, and I'm going to go to line one and talk to MHA Paul Lane, who was working to kick that off today, weren't you, Paul?
Well, Tim, yeah, I did attend the launch today, and I certainly do want to congratulate Vince Withers and his team for bringing this issue, to the forefront. It certainly is a very important issue. It affects an awful lot of people here in Newfoundland and Labrador. I think that most of us, certainly, if we don't have a family member, we certainly know somebody who has been impacted by this, and I was glad to be there this morning and help kick it off and certainly support their efforts.
And just before you go on, Paul,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and for people who don't know, I mean, you mentioned the name Vince Withers. The man has been a huge servant of Newfoundland and Labrador, particularly in this area raising awareness. He, if I recall correctly, lost a family member to an eating disorder, and he deserves tons and tons of credit, because no doubt this has not been easy for him, particularly when it's been so personal and so painful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Vince is a great Newfoundlander, and he's done so much in this province, and certainly he was impacted on a personal level, and but he's had the strength and fortitude to bring this forward, and I believe he was actually the founder of the foundation, if I'm not mistaken, and he worked so hard at it, and they have made great strides, and he certainly is to be congratulated for all the great work that he's done. Tim, the reason why for my call, actually, I did want to call about the issue that you raised a few minutes ago with the taxis and safety. And certainly in my capacity as the opposition member responsible for Service NL, part of that, portfolio that I follow relates to occupational health and safety, and as well as to workers' compensation. And I have a background in that because prior to becoming an MHA, I actually worked as a safety practitioner. And so I just wanted to raise this issue from the perspective that I believe that government definitely has a role to play here. Certainly I've heard that, the industry has raised concerns. I know that Deputy Mayor Ellsworth is, I think he's going to be calling in, and he's certainly been involved with this issue. But also, government through the Department of Service NL does have a role to play. We have legislation in this province, Section 15 of the Occupational Health and Safety Regulations actually speaks to the issue of employees working alone. Yeah. And there is a responsibility there to ensure that any workers that are working alone, that there's a hazard assessment done of the particular workplace or circumstance, and that measures are put in place to protect employees. And certainly from the side of workers' compensation actually has a prevention division, which is responsible for awareness and training and so on. And so they certainly have a role to play with working with the industry to help educate, employees and so on, people in the taxi industry, and, in terms of training and awareness and so on this issue as well. So I call upon certainly Minister Cornick and as Minister of Service NL to certainly engage both the OHS division as well as the Workers' Compensation Prevention Division to work with the industry to ensure that there are practices in place to help mitigate the risk associated to taxi drivers working alone.
Having worked down there on George Street, though, I would say this about, I think it's entirely fair what you're saying. I think if there are legislative vehicles or regulatory vehicles that help, they should be pursued. Don't disagree with you on that. But I guess the reality is this, as you know, if you're driving a drunken or stoned idiot around and he or she or all of them decide that they're going to do something inappropriate, unfortunately there aren't many regulations that are going to stop that, though, right?
Well, I mean, there are things that can be done, and I think you mentioned some of them. I heard some of them today, and I'm not saying that there's one set solution, and that's why you do a hazard assessment. Perhaps the protocol for working in the daytime, for example, would be different than the protocol for working in the nighttime, particularly if you're working in the downtown and there's people under the influence. There are mechanisms that you can get that are being used in other places, whether it be camera technology, whether it be barriers, or whether it be, I believe I heard someone talk about if a taxi driver's in trouble, there's actually a button he could push and then would light up on the cab saying, call 911, I'm in trouble. So, and I'm not saying that there's any one of these things. There may be a combination. Maybe there's policies and procedures that need to be taken in place. Maybe there's, training that needs to take place. But the bottom line is that we've, obviously it is an issue. Unfortunately, we've reached a point in Newfoundland and Labrador where this type of thing is becoming more prevalent. And so certainly, there is a role for government to play through Occupational Health and Safety and Workers' Comp Prevention Division. And again, I encourage Minister Cornick to engage those divisions that he is responsible for to work with the taxi industry to try to come up with solutions.
All right, good, Paul. Thanks for your call today. Appreciate you kicking the week off for me. Talk to you again soon.
Absolutely, Tim. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay,
bye.
Bye now.
Paul Lane, the MHA for one of the Mount Pearl ridings. Going to take a quick break here. Talk more taxis when we come back. We have Doug McCarthy, the operator of Jiffy Cabs, on the line. You're going to want to stay around for that to get a bird's eye view from somebody who's in this business, what really can be